Senator OBURU Odinga.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this motion at this time when our country is going through a lot of stress, and it is a time for reflection, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this thing has not started today. It has not started with this regime. It has not started by the previous one. Madam Speaker, this is something which has been going on for years and years, regime after regime, coming in, and they are not listening to the people. Madam Speaker, this is because our people have not seen the independence they fought for. People thought they had gained independence, but Madam Speaker, when the leaders came in, leaders started with greed. They started with land grabbing, Madam Speaker, with nepotism, tribalism, and open corruption. Madam Speaker, this is what has accumulated. It has accumulated, and it has been bubbling beneath, and finally it has come out to burst. I remember the previous president, Uhuru Kenyatta, told us that there is a force coming underneath, which is the youth, and they have issues. And if their issues are not addressed, Madam Speaker, it will burst one day, and it will tear all of us into pieces. Madam Speaker, this morning I was impressed by what our majority leader said. In fact, Madam Speaker, I failed to recognize him. I didn't think it was Cheriot speaking. I thought, Madam Speaker, that it was somebody who is born again, somebody who is reincarnated, and somebody who is, for Alwale I know because we have been with him. I know sometimes he changes just to please the bosses, but I know he knows exactly what should be done. Madam Speaker, I was so happy, and I'm so happy that Parliament and the Senate is waking up to its role. And Speaker, our role as a Parliament, our role as a Senate is not to go into bed with the executive. Even though you are elected on parties which are either ruling or in the opposition, but our role is to oversight. Our role is oversight. And when people talk of government, here people are talking of government as if they are part of the executive. Government is not executive. Government has three arms. Madam Speaker, there is the executive, there is the legislature, and there is the judiciary. And Madam Speaker, our role as this Senate is to oversight, not just the executive here, but the executive down up to the counties, the governors, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've seen people who are angry with us. They are saying that even as senators, we are not properly oversighting the governors. And Madam Speaker, this is not an empty accusation. This is something we should reflect and think exactly what we should do about it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is, we are looking at corruption. Corruption as a cancer. It is a cancer in our country, Madam Speaker, because it is the corruption which has brought down. It has brought down many institutions. Many institutions cannot work because of corruption. They are not effective because of corruption. If people are blaming EAC and saying that EAC is not effective, they are not effective because people go there, the governors go there, government corrupt officials go there, they go there with briefcases. Madam Speaker, when you talk of raising taxes, this institution called KRA. KRA is an institution which is supposed to raise taxes from Kenyans, but the government has missed it. I think those who are advising, and some of them are people I know because we used to work with them together, they are advising that raising levels of taxes and introducing new taxes is the way to go in raising money for the government. I'm sure, Madam Speaker, that there are ways of this government raising sufficient money to not only finance all the requirements in the recurrent, but also all the requirements in development, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we don't have to go begging. We don't have to go in this country, jump up and down, going to beg money from people. Madam Speaker, I know from experience. I used to be an assistant minister of finance. Madam Speaker, I can tell you that within less than, when we came to the office, this government was collecting, the economy was growing at -% in GDP. Madam Speaker, within less than 10 years, the economy was now growing at 7.5%, almost 9%, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is because of sealing the loopholes for corruption. If I know, I can tell you, Madam Speaker, that when this thing called Arambe, Arambe is one of the conduits of corruption. And the way it was dealt with at that time by the president was first to give instructions to all public officers that you participate in Arambes. You can contribute money in Arambes, but don't go there as guest of honor. Don't go there with monies that have been given, this have been sent by so-and-so, sent so-and-so. The so-and-so you are giving money from are the ones who have corrupted you because they came for you for free service, and instead of giving them free service, you ask them for bribes in order to get those services. Madam Speaker, I can also tell you that corruption starts from the top. The fish rots from the head. If you are head of an institution and you are corrupt, there's no way you are going to deal with people beneath you and instruct them not to involve in corruption. If you are the head of a ministry, there's no way you are going to instruct people below you not to be corrupt when you yourself, they know you are corrupt. Madam Speaker, there's no way, if you are the president of the country, people think and have that perception that you are going to tell them not to do the same. Madam Speaker, this thing called corruption starts with supplies. When you go to supplies, issuing of contracts, you find people are lining up. Contractors are lining up in big offices with briefcases. And those briefcases, if they are stopped, those contractors will do a good job, they will do quality work, and the people will get quality, will get value for their taxes, the taxes they pay. Madam Speaker, you cannot be asking people to pay taxes and they don't see the result of the taxes they pay. They don't see the benefits of those taxes which they pay, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know that I was living in a country where the president said that there will be no briefcases to his office. Any contractor who went to his office, he told them, please go and do your work. I don't want you to come to my office for anything. You go and tender, go and do proper tendering, and if you win it because you deserve it, get the job and do it as you should. Madam Speaker, within a very, very short time, that country was raising sufficient money to pay for their recurrent expenditures, fully, to service their debts fully without any stress. They were paying for their development budget almost 95%. Madam Speaker, when I was in government here, Madam Speaker, we managed to raise sufficient money to service our debts comfortably. We managed to raise sufficient money to pay salaries and recurrent expenditures comfortably. And the development budget was being financed 90% from our own budget, Madam Speaker. What happened? This is because anybody, any minister who was mentioned in the case of corruption was asked by the president himself to step aside until investigations are complete. Madam Speaker, you had to step aside until investigations are completed. If you are cleared, you come back. If you are not cleared, you don't come back to the office. Madam Speaker, there was a time when my own minister, Amos Kimunya, declared that he will not resign even though he was being mentioned in some cases of corruption. And he said he would resign over his dead body, that he would do it over his dead body. But Madam Speaker, the president insisted that he must step aside. And Muthaura was in our office from morning to evening telling him that if you don't step aside, the president is going to sack you. You are going to be sacked. And Madam Speaker, I can tell you, he did it. And he called me to join him in the press, and we sat there, and he told me, don't answer questions from the press. We just bowed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is therefore doable. It is doable if we can clean ourselves and be very strict that if you yourself, you have been mentioned in corruption, don't wait to be sacked. Step aside. Step aside and allow for investigations. If the investigations are done, if you are clean, you come back. But it's not a system, Madam Speaker, where people who are accused in court whose cases are going on, somehow behind the doors, they are cleared and then brought and given public offices. They come back and get public offices, Madam Speaker. This is something which is unheard of. How can you, when you are in court, when witnesses have already given evidence up to a certain level, almost getting finished, and then the prosecutor or the Directorate of Public Prosecutions comes to clear you and give you clean bill of health, when already witnesses are there who have already pinned you down? Why don't you let the judges do their job and say whether you are innocent or not? Because evidence has already been presented. Madam Speaker, I also want to talk about our public institutions. Our public institutions are not doing what they should do, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in our days, everybody wanted to go to a public hospital because public hospitals were offering better services than private hospitals. Madam Speaker, what happened? The public schools were offering better quality education than private schools. And everybody wanted to join public schools. But these days, Madam Speaker, everybody wants to go to a private school if they have money. They only go to public schools if they don't have, if their parents cannot afford, Madam Speaker. This is because, Madam Speaker, the way of appointing teachers and the way of training teachers is not proper. Well, I think, Madam Speaker, I cannot speak more on this thing called corruption. It has embedded our society deep into almost everywhere. You go to education, it is the same thing. You go to health, it is the same thing. You go to roads, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you go to roads. I was asking a contractor in my constituency why he was doing a shoddy job which was constructing a road which was wearing out and almost creating such big potholes that you could even bury a small child in them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this contractor told me that, Oburu, you are my friend. So I have to give so much money to so-and-so. I have to give so much money to so-and-so. I have to give so much money to so-and-so. Where do I get it from? We agree that I remove one layer of contract from it, that we agree that we do something about what they call the ears. We do something about the drainage. So that is why these roads get depleted so fast and they are destroyed very fast, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know that this happens not only with roads, it also happens with health, it happens with all the other departments. And Madam Speaker, I don't want to continue to speak much more than this, but what I want to say, and I can see my friend Honorable Cheriot has come back, and I wanted to talk to him straight and ask him, Senator Cheriot, my friend, what you spoke today impressed me so much, and I would like you to continue. If you could continue, if this thing could be sustained, so that we can continue in this line, being together. Today, when you spoke, I thought I was not going to say anything, because you spoke what we thought should be spoken by a leader from our side. And Madam Speaker, I hope that when an issue arises, we are not going to be held at ransom with the people who are leading our parties, who are leading the government. If we feel strongly that there is something which they are not doing right, we must come up and advise them. If they don't listen, let us not wait for the people to teach us lessons. Let us do it ourselves. Let us do the advice and then even come to the floor of the House and say we have tried to advise, but we are not getting our advice through. So this is not correct, and I didn't even know that, Cheriot, you know some of the things you said here. I thought you people, the way sometimes you even interrupt us from saying anything, I thought that perhaps you didn't know. Particularly Cherargei. I didn't know he knows all these things which he was speaking about here. So Madam Speaker, I want to end there by supporting this motion very strongly, and I hope that the people who are up there, sometimes people speak here, instead of speaking to us, they are actually speaking to the authorities up there. What they want is to, some of them like Tabitha, they are nominated, so they want to be heard that we are defending. But at least you are not nominated to come and defend. You are nominated to come and defend the people of Kenya and defend the interests for which you are nominated. Don't come here to defend system, because what you do here will go on record, and that is what will make you either catapult and go further and further, higher and higher, or go down into the drains. Madam Speaker, thank you, and I support.
Thank you, Senator Oburu. Senator Aaron Cheriot, you sound like a new convert before Senator Oburu. Senator Tabitha Mutin.